music is in here. The eyes have it.
Our journey has been steady from the advent. With crystal clear vision, we started off as a news online portal. We subsequently evolved into a magazine, and now on your radio. We do not only bear the name Media House, we practice with the best ethos of our professional calling, presenting facts with objectivity. We are committed and resolute. We are HallowMace. We are the standard bearers. It's HallowMace on radio, dedicated to promotion of legislature, democracy, and good governance. It's hot, interactive, educating, engaging, and entertaining. HallowMace on radio, Thursdays, 10 a.m. on Armed Forces Radio, 107.7 FM. HallowMace on radio. Parliament, brought to the people. Brought to the people.
Beautiful morning to you, cousin. Thank you for joining us on this edition of HallowMace on radio. Check your time. It's 2 minutes past 10. We're always live here every Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And our moment with you has always been because of the passion we have, promoting good governance, talking some more around the legislature, what they do as regards to the Nigerian democracy. And our intention is that as we do our conversation, it's coming as regards to transparency, accountability, and sincerity of purpose. Now, you would have heard us last week while we came on here commemorating the second year of this administration, talking about President Bola Tinubu's administration, 2 years in office. Quite a lot. Quite a number of conversations have been on, reactions here and there. But today, we intend to take a look at the legislature, because this month would also be their own anniversary. And specifically, you would want to look out for the date. Cousin will share that with you in no distant time. So check what we intend to do. Countdown to the 10th National Assembly at 2. Progress, challenges, and prospects. So these are the three things we intend to take a look. And joining us live on radio now is Ezenwa, Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. Thank you for coming.
Great. How are you doing?
I'm very well, sir. We will also expect to have with us Honorable Uzoma Nkem-Abonta, member of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th National Assembly. Hopefully, Comrade Jacob Okpanachi should join us. He's the convener, Coalition of Civil Society for Good Governance. So you heard that already, and I'm feeling that while you are at it, you would want to look at the educational sector, economy, and what else are you thinking of me to talk to you about? Security. Oh, outstandingly, agriculture. What has the National Assembly done as regards to this? As they would be taking a look at their 2 years, will they be proud of what they've done? So I think that if I must give my cousin, that's what I call everybody. You're my cousin now. Cousin Ezenwa to speak to us in general terms as his opening. What can you say about the 10th National Assembly?
Well, it's not to preface the conversation will be to look at legislature, and then we can then zero into the 10th, as it were. The primacy of the legislature in democracy,
yes, sir,
it cannot be overemphasized. And the reason for that is that if there is any challenge to this democracy, the first casualties are the legislature.
Okay.
The executive survives.
Okay.
The judiciary survives. But the legislature, that's the first thing that is suspended.
Okay. Why is that though?
Because it is, and many do not realize that. It is the place where you have the representatives, the direct representatives of the people.
All right.
In terms of constituencies, in terms of senatorial districts, okay?
Yes,
These are the guys who are closer to the
people,
representing the people. And their function is almost, untrammeled. If you first of all, they make laws. In democracy, they are the ones who make the law.
Very well.
They are the ones who represent the people. They are the ones who oversight almost every other person.
Yes, cousin.
You can't spend money without their say-so.
Very true. I do know that.
So, the power of appropriation. So, it is important to understand that real things about democracy are not some of the things. The legislature is the guardrail. They are the ones who protect this democracy. The real values of democracy, you talked about in your opener, transparency, accountability, the intrinsic values of freedom are the things that they protect.
Very well.
As a legislature. So it is now on the basis of that we're going to now be looking at, the 10th National Assembly, how has it fared, and all of that. The most important variable for me is the lawmaking component.
Okay.
So we will be looking at how have they fared. And then I know you sectorized your conversation.
Very well.
Education, agriculture,
economy, security,
what have you. So the only way you can mirror them is how much have they been able to make laws that guarantees the well-being of Nigerians in these sectors that you talked about.
Now look at what I'm thinking. That you asked the question, I will still put it to you because you're the one to respond to, and I'm glad that you're here. But of course, cousin, I just need you to be involved in this conversation from the onset. Should you have your own questions too or contributions that you would like to make, you reach us on 0707 242 6258. The numbers again, 0707 242 6258. So as we continue with the live broadcast, let's see how we can restrict it. I did a little 1-2 research here and there as regards to education, and I've seen some of the laws they made. But because I'm with you, you're the one to do the talking on behalf of Nigerians now before they join us. Would you feel that the 10th National Assembly has done well when it comes to some of the laws they had, some of the bills they came through with in respect to education, if at all any have been passed?
We would want to look at most of the ones that have very strong significance are the ones that are executive bills.
All right.
For instance, the students' loan. Bill, act that has become act, was one of the things that is, in my view, quite revolutionary.
Quite a lot of benefit.
Yes, if it works very well, though it has challenges in terms of its mechanics, but in terms of law, it now means that you have a law that guarantees that indigent students, people who can afford school fees, can have a place where they can draw that and pay, and that's significant for education. You can also look at the number of federal universities that have been established, and they are creations of an act. It is an act that sets up these federal universities, bringing education much closer, to almost every area in the country now has one federal university or the other, and that's significant shift in terms of access, because I think that one of the thinking around this is that education might be the quickest response to the issue of poverty alleviation and enlightenment.
Someone feels that if you say that I've been out of school for 10 years, I'm not making any progress.
The person didn't go to school.
Okay. That's how cousin had to say now. Now, while I'm looking at some of the bills and some of the acts amendments,
I need to qualify that so that people
we will not cut you out of context.
Yes. So the challenge is what have we promoted? We've promoted education as a meal ticket.
Cousin,
go to school and then read engineering, read medicine, read architecture, so that when you come out, you can gainfully be employed. And that has the mindset. But education is for its own sake.
I heard this.
Anybody can. There are masons who do better job than architects. Okay? But true. The truth is that those who work with their hands serve others. Those who work with their mind, others serve them.
Cousin, You heard that sense now? It's like a high point on live radio broadcast, and I'm thinking, don't say school is a scam, because quite a lot of people have said that over time.
No, that's why those who the reason why, if you are a mason, you can lay all the blocks, you know how to from foundation, but you don't know the why. You know, you can know the how, but the education now, that's why you see that. If I ask you what you read in the university, you probably...
It's not what I'm doing now. Yes, because
it probably may not be what you read in the university.
Very true.
And many of us are that way. Why? Because we understood what education is. It creates that human being. So in setting up universities, the challenge will be not just setting them up, but to fund them in a way that they can respond to those needs for which they are set up.
Interesting. Now, while I took a look earlier before now, the 10th National Assembly had some key initiatives that include legislative reforms, educational advancement, and infrastructural development when it comes to education. And I'm looking at quite a number of legislative reforms and strengthening education commission bill here, like this one that has to do with National Senior Secondary Education Commission bill. This bill aims to strengthen the legislative framework for senior secondary education, addressing existing gaps and provide for funding mechanisms. Now, this is just one that I'm taking a look at. But while you were talking, I'm trying to see the challenges some of these students, undergraduates, are going through accessing some of these funds that are meant to be available for them. I had engaged one before now, and he told me he had applied, and somebody tampered with his, email, and he couldn't have access to this. And these are some of the vulnerables that this administration came on with this perspective to see if they can help them. What should we be looking at? Are you sure that we had done well in respect to laying some of the standards correctly for the student to actually have access to this?
Well, I like to call you cousin too now, so that we can be on the same page.
Yes.
I think that big issue for me, it hasn't always been bills. It's what has been assented to.
Okay.
There are people you could just churn out, bills. But at the end of the day, how many of them become?
This 10th assembly, they have quite a lot when it comes to the representatives.
No, that's what I'm telling you. So
Yes.
in the past 2 years, between this 2023 and 2025, about 40 bills have been assented to. And incidentally, even those who it's their business to talk about this, they don't even
want to come around.
They are not aware of how much in terms of. So if you in this particular case now, we are talking about 360, some organization that is working around this, has been able to dig up 40 assented bills between this number of years. And that's phenomenal.
All right.
Absolutely. So you are talking about NAFOND, for instance.
Yes, cousin.
Yeah, so the educational fund that came out of that student loan, that's the organization that came out from that act.
Yeah.
But you see, the abuse of a medicine, for instance, the abuse of a medicine for headache does not vitiate the fact that medicine is important. So what those students refer to are some of the teaching challenges, human, I don't like to say Nigerian factor, but some of those human elements that you meet. But what is important is this thing is not a walk in the park. It is hard work. The building of institutions in a way that they are beyond personalities, automated systems. That's what you are talking about.
Yes,
let's have systems that, work without so much of human interference. So the challenge that student had is probably interference. And once you have an automated system, if you enter the right information into this thing, it accepts you. If the information you feed into it is not correct, it shuts you out. So there is no human. So that's where we need to go to. Right. But you also don't surrender all your system to technology.
Okay.
I think we also need to be nuanced. Around that, because there's a sense in which also we over promote technology and think that once you technologize, then your problem is, that's the silver bullet for solving all your
Some people
problems.
feel that it's a technology age, and for us, maybe that should be the way to go. And with some of these limitations and weaknesses we're seeing already, I think that you might need to amplify that conversation so that the authorities understand that we don't give it whole 100% to just technology.
We are people who we are given to fads. Anything that is a fad excites us. Technology, the world is going technology, AI, all that kind of conversation is going on.
Yes.
But very serious-minded people and countries are also being nuanced. Sweden, for instance, has withdrawn iPads and the rest of them from their schools.
Look at that.
Because that has become a challenge for their children to even become to use their own initiative. They are returning textbooks to schools.
I heard this.
So you understand. So if we are embracing technology, but we need to be careful. We need to be very careful.
Okay.
But you then need some kind of code of conduct, because the challenge is that our people are always interested in taking due advantage, if you permit the use of sometimes dubious advantage.
Quite sad.
So the students like that who have come, indigent students, you now exploit their misery, exploit their condition to enrich yourself. And those are some of the challenges that I see.
Another thing that I'm looking at is the clarification we need to have. Some people feel that these are not just free monies given to these students. They are meant to pay back.
Yes.
Do you see that as help?
No, but you shouldn't. There is bursary.
Okay.
There is loan. Many times, if you know that you are going to pay money back,
Yes, cousin.
there is a discipline that it enforces.
All right.
If it's free money, that's why you see people go, for instance, who get grants. They get grants and then they use it to marry new wives and then buy new cars. And then because they don't have a sense,
Yes,
in terms of accountability. So that's the reason why. Now these are things that in the places where our people are running to, that is what exists in those places. Where you can go to school, you access loan to be able to. School is not cheap. Okay, if you people think that when you go to the US, you go to UK, that is the
scholarship.
No. In fact, most probably, America harbors even the most more illiterate number of people that you can find anywhere, because they can't afford to go to school, and even the loan you are talking about to get access to it is also a huge challenge. So if we have that kind of investment in our country, it will liberate quite a lot of people. And remember, even in the post-colonial period, okay, many of the people who went to school through loans. Either their communities provided loans, with which they were educated, that they used to become lawyers and doctors. You understand? So we just want to think that the National Assembly, indeed the current administration, is working around creating laws, because the superiority of laws over executive orders is that even when that government has exited, you cannot. You understand? You will need an amendment process to clean out that. But an executive order can be overthrown by anybody.
I heard this. Now, cousin, you would be part of what we're doing now. 0707-242-6258 is available for you. We had touched a little on education. Let's look at the economy. What would you say? Of course, you are interested not just in the bills, but some of the ones that have been ascended to. So talk to us as you look at this 10th Assembly with some of the things they've done around the economy. What will you say about their performance?
I don't like to talk about performance.
Okay.
I have a problem with it.
Why? Okay. Why is that?
In terms of, you see, and that's where I started with.
Yeah.
You see that we appropriate certain conversations.
Okay.
And centralize things like dividends of democracy. So if you go around everywhere now, you are hearing about how many roads have been constructed, how many boreholes. In fact, if my very good friend, the Honorable Abonta, was here now, he probably will tell you how many boreholes he has sunk
in his
community. You hear all those things. Now, so when you are now talking about performance, you see me, you push me to be thinking that way, but that's not. That's
performance
not.
Should be about.
No, absolutely. The colonialists, the colonial, the day masters, they are not masters.
Okay, but that was what we used to call.
No, ponderers.
Okay,
they built roads. They, in fact, more enduring roads. Okay,
yes.
They even created what you call European quarters. In many cities across the country, you will still see those
still standing.
You understand? They are standing.
Yes.
But why did we ask them to leave? Freedom.
Okay.
Is because they are not accountable to us, where our citizenship was infringed upon. Why did we ask the military to leave? The military built bridges. They built most of the enduring things that we still rely upon in the country today. So why did we ask them to leave? We didn't ask them to leave because they were not providing. So all this your performance. We need to look at laws that have been made that make life
easy for Nigerians,
more meaningful for Nigerians in terms of liberating their freedom. So most of the laws that have been made under the 10th National Assembly in the economy area has been the Electricity Act, for instance. So if I go and talk about how they have made a Electricity Act, how that the first thing your callers will ask is, how much are we paying
for the ban A?
Are we getting
the power supply? Those are some of the questions, actually.
No, so you see that I can. Is a tightrope you want me to walk in terms of the laws have been made. There are laws, a lot of, like I said, 40 new laws assented, cutting across security, economy, and everything. And that's some work. But you want to look at sunshine laws that promote citizenship. Today you have a cyber crime that just here now, somebody will just say you maligned me, and then you are, before you know it, you are in prison,
charged to court.
No, it's just, and so it infringes on freedom. So those are laws. So economic laws have been passed, but like today, the reforms in the economy have not manifested in the kitchen,
real sense,
in the kitchen of the majority of families in the country. So no matter what English you speak around, economy and all of that, it does not. It pans into insignificance in the face of hunger, in the face of general issues of livelihood. I know that there is a lot being done to, check all of that. I knew the government came in and met a very perilous economic situation. I know that there has been stabilization of the Naira. I know that all of that. But like I said, English. What does it mean for the ordinary Nigerian? And once that question is not answered, if you now tell me to begin to assess 10th National Assembly performance on the economy,
be comfortable with
I would just be putting me out for crucifixion.
And I wouldn't want to do that to you because you remain my cousin. I love that real good. Now, cousin, I think that at this point, I wish I tried, if the calls are not coming through, you could send a text message so that you are not forced on not being part of this conversation. You could ask your questions on 0707 242 6258, a message. We can take it live on radio and we'll have reactions on that. 0707 242 6258. Honorable Uzoma Nkem-Abonta just came in now. He was a member of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th National Assembly. If I was going to go on 4 terms now, I would have felt that that's the perspective of understanding some cousins have had. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, listeners. Good morning.
Good morning. You had always started earlier with me. I wonder why you're coming now.
Oh, well, some challenges while coming on the road.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank God we're here.
It's all right. Let me engage this listener, then I bring you on. Thank you, cousin, for joining us. Good morning. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Yes, I'm calling from Abuja.
You have 60 seconds for your reaction. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm sad about the student loan. I'm very happy about the company initiative to help the indigent students who cannot afford education. But there's some challenges there, I want to ask. Some of the schools, after students borrow money and pay for that fee, the school authorities cannot refund the money, the fee, back to the students to face other challenges like accommodation, feeding, and other challenges. That's number one. Number two, the upkeep comes lately. Sometimes for 2 months now, students cannot access the upkeep. Thank you.
How do you get to know this? Are you a student?
I'm a parent.
Okay, parent. All right. Okay. Let's see if we can react to that. Honorable Abonta, thank you for coming through. I should have allowed you to react to that, but let me make you make your own statement first before we have that conversation. So permit me to still engage Ezenwa because he has been on the conversation and you talked on that loan as well. Now, this parent is feeling that some other student had paid earlier before they finally assessed the loan, and then the school has not refunded them. What would you say to that?
That's a process issue. I think we need to look at the value. First is the value. The issue of refund is a process challenge that the student can, activate.
Okay.
One challenge that I've seen around the country is that we have a touch and go attitude to anything. If you insist that the university, and that is if they are supposed to do a refund anyway, because we have to be clear as to what time your loan starts working from. So if you've paid and then you needed to refund and there is actually opportunity for refund, it is now your citizen, your ability to understand your rights as a citizen to get that one. It has nothing to do with the law that has been made, which in my view is a revolutionary one that assists indigent students to be able to
I think that is sufficient. Yeah, that is sufficient because sometimes if you're talking on this now, a cousin who is following up will say my own course is a 4-year course, 3-year or 5 years, depending on what course you're handling. And I know that the loan from a perspective is also supposed to be twice or 2 times that you can have access to what some of the students have engaged. Now, Honorable, thank you for coming. We had started the conversation taking a look at the cousin said let's not use the word performance. We're taking a look at the progress, challenges of the 10th Assembly around some of the laws they have actually passed in respect to education, economy, security, and agriculture. Now, you've been there for 4 different times, and I don't know what your take is as regards to this 10th Assembly. I know I've engaged you here at some point on conversations, but we're taking a look at their countdown, 2 years in a bit now for them. What would you say as your opening remarks to the 10th Assembly when you take a look at some of the things they've done in respect to education, security, agriculture, and the economy?
Thank you very much. If you look at the 10th Assembly, if I'm to assess them, you do the assessment from a comparative or superlative analysis. I must compare them with the previous Assembly, so you'll be able to say they've done well or not. But as per challenges, they have enormous challenges that are inborn in the way they had evolved.
Okay.
The 10th Assembly appears to be the slowest assembly. And the reason being that if you look at the members as constituted, you will now know the reason. You can't give what you don't have. You cannot. If you look at them holistically, you will see that out of the 360, you have less than 30% that are old members. So they are purely new members learning the rope. So if you assess them from the angle of learning the rope, you will say they are doing well. But if you assess them as institution, you see a lot of lacunas. You see a lot of loopholes. So the experienced members are not there. You can also see that from the quality of debate. You can also see that from the bills churned out. There are barely 2 years in it, and 2 years is not enough and will not be enough to master legislative processes. Two, they're also overwhelmed by the government at the center.
Okay.
Mr. President seems to be a very good, one of the most intelligent politicians who thinks futuristics. So they have a very cordial rapport, which should be, but I think the cordiality is also passing what we should see administratively, what we should see as politically, what should be seen. So they are operating more or less of a father and son relationship. It's more of a family relationship, not a working relationship. In fact, father and son, not even father and minor relationship. But when you have a father and have a son who is of majority, you can discuss. So, but they are doing well. So if you look at the laws they've turned out, and so they're also executive laws. Most of those laws were not initiated from the parliament. The executive laws, which of course they are at liberty to say we agree or we don't agree, but they are agreeing. So you can see, but we're waiting to see the fruition of those laws. For example, an economy, the tax law now they passed. Of course, that raises a lot of controversies with a lot of inadequacies in it. But by the time we practice it, you may see what we may gain and what we may save therein and so on. So if you assess the nation on economy, what they've done, then we begin to assess the government of the day, not necessarily the parliament, from fuel subsidy, removal of this and so on. So we're yet to see the savings. Of course, a lot have been saved. But again, it's management of or the byproduct of these laws. How are they going to put on the people? Let's see how it goes.
One major concern that has been on my mind now is your submission in respect to them being new and their performance when it comes to learning the rope. You possibly might say they are doing well, but when it comes to quality of debate and all of that, for you is not satisfactory. Now, I'm trying to make sense, because I remember at some point on one of our HallowMace editions here, we were feeling that if there's a way the National Assembly should have been run so that they are not just novice coming in, but because the people voted them. I appreciated cousin Ezenwa Onwangu at some point. He said this National Assembly, there are people that are closer to the people. So when you're making submissions like this, I would want to actually have an understanding that is clear enough so that it affects my listener as well. They voted these people in. Would you think that they didn't know what they were doing?
You agree with me that they voted these persons, but most votings are done on sentimental, on party basis. And if you look at the last election, it was different from other elections. There are this OP wave, there are this, there are that, and so on. So all of them contributed to new persons coming. In fact, in some places, they had no candidate. I'll give you an example. There are some places up north, they had no candidate, particular party that had no candidate won. People voted there when people vote candidates, they don't get. Two, people also want to vote stomach infrastructure. What can you give us? How much did you pay at the election so you get it? So if you look at legislatively, you don't change them too often. There is no classroom where you teach experience. Experience is gathered at the floor, practically, in the field, where you are doing the thing. So if you look at the quality of persons, they are sound normal persons, but they do not understand legislative process. Some are medical doctors, some are engineers, some are businessmen. They came from all walks of life to do a thing now they do not know. So they must learn. Even if you're a professor of mathematics, for example, put him at the floor that legislative house, he may not understand legislative process. But he said that's a professor. But he cannot. Meanwhile, somebody who's not a professor, who had gone through the rudiments of that, will begin to. So if you listen to the output, for example, you will see some bills, some notions they file that runs against a motion. You can't use a motion, for example, to take away a bill and so on. So they are bound to do this business until they will rise, until they learn. It's just like a child. You crawl, you walk, you run. So they are in the process of crawling. They are new.
All right.
So the men out of the 360, less than 40 are old members. So how can you do that? It's just like go and play a football match, World Cup, with people who have never played in Abuja Stadium. They are taking them to Olympic Stadium to go and play. Of course, the best footballer there will not be able to play until they master the ball. Even the hollow chambers alone can dim and diminish. We've seen some videos going viral where somebody cannot move emotion. It's whatever. And even when the presiding officer will be trying to guide you to say this, say that, man, come on. It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so.
Now, look at what I'm thinking, cousin. We're trying to make sense of the 10th Assembly. The countdown has begun already on HallowMace on radio. Hoping that you are part of it with your questions and contributions. 0707 242 6258. Again, the number is 0707 242 6258. I wish I could ask Ezenwa, Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. You had listened to the Honorable. You shared his opinion that this guy is a novice?
No, of course, the attrition number in the National Assembly is worrisome. No doubt about that. And no one should know better than Honorable Abonta, who himself is a professor of practice in the National Assembly. Yes, but the big challenge for me always is the motivation for doing something. Is very important. And I think that's where Honorable did not touch. Many people, don't know why they are even, or they know why they are coming to the National Assembly. They think it is a place to come and make money. The transactional thoughts.
But can you deny that from them?
No. See, if your motivation is to make laws,
cousin,
which is
the main thing,
yes,
that's what you're meant
you
to
would
do.
invest. Okay.
Yes.
There are people who are new, but the way they have embraced that work, you will see that it is different.
Yes.
I know a few people who are new, who are not as didn't return severally like many others, who are engaging that work with a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. So I believe that motivation is important. People should make up their mind with why they are going into a particular place. There is not rocket science.
Absolutely.
Even if the Honorable said 2 years is not sufficient, I don't agree. If you came into the National Assembly to learn, you can learn under people like him. You can even make him your teacher and consultant.
Yes,
because you want to learn. Okay. Having said that, that's just an aside. But the business of lawmaking,
yes, cousin,
is something that we need to take much more seriously. Like he said, 40 bills, like I said earlier, have been assented by the president between 2023 and 2025. Majority of them, like he also said, are all executive bills. Most of the bills that you see, member bills, some of them are laughable. You'll be shocked that any thinking person will be putting up that kind of bill, and it doesn't even go. Sometimes it doesn't go beyond that first reading and the rest of them. That can challenge you, to begin to see what to do to make sure that you apprise yourself of the environment that you have come to. So that's my response to that. So I think it is about motivation. It is about what brought you there. It is about how much you want to give. But if the understanding is to see which ministry, which agency you can, the thought is about executive, coming into executive sessions with leaders of MDAs and ask them what is in the budget and all of those things. Honorable Abonta is proving to you that it's much more beyond that. It's not just about, you now have to do the legislative treadmill runs on professionalism, runs on experience, runs on teachability, because you have to also learn from the people who have mastered the thing, and much of that is not going on. And there is territorialism. Everybody is a big boy. Everybody comes with, I'm honorable, I don't need the other person. If we take away territorialism, we can also, get the older people to carry the younger ones or the inexperienced ones along in a way that can increase productivity.
I'm loving this live radio broadcast, education, sensitization, information coming through for you now. And I'm hoping that should you want to keep your dreams alive, you need to learn it correctly. Mentors are available for you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us, cousin.
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling us from?
Oh, my name is Vincent. I'm calling from Masaka.
Joseph.
Your call has been placed on hold. Please wait.
It's not me. I didn't put the call on hold. Maybe you need to get back, cousin. 0707-242-6258 is the number for you to actually get through with this live conversation of HallowMace on radio. Honorable Abonta, okay, let me see if I can talk to this cousin and then I get to you. Good morning.
Hello?
Thank you for joining us. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, Vincent from Masaka.
Vincent, welcome back. You've got 60 seconds. Talk to us.
Okay. I want to thank God for the man at the studio here.
I have two men, actually.
I to see that their primary something to make law. Yes, that is. What I'm saying is that when you make law that is not implemented, it is nothing but trash. All I say is that the oversight functions is more important. For them to oversight the executive is very, very, very important. Because the way things are going now, I want to say that if you don't oversight let me say, for instance, the accountant general office, very soon and very soon people will not take their salary. Because I don't know what they are doing in that office. Even civil servants with their little money, they up to now, so they are not even taking their salary. So you should take time to oversight the functions of the executive. Otherwise, the law they are making will be bad and dash. That's what I want to say. Thank you. Vincent,
thanks for your contribution. At this point, I need to hear your take on the tax reforms bill. The fact that it's ascended to now. What's your reaction? You've been in the assembly.
Yes, the tax reform bills, to me, are very good laws if properly practiced and managed, even though it pulls us from federalism to unitary government.
Okay.
Tax shouldn't be placed as a single treasure, whatever, totality. Most Nigerians don't pay tax, which is wrong. They pay tax, particularly the rich men, they don't pay tax. It's only the lower class, or you work it, so you pay
take it directly from your source.
Exactly.
That's what we have been suffering.
They've taken a lot of powers from the state, from the local government even, breaching the constitution. However, it's an encouragement if it's practiced, and then you will share. So I give kudos to tax law, subject to one or two laws also being amended. Nigeria will get a lot of money to run the system from taxes. And they should, the way they look at the tax law, they should also look at other revenue matters in that form. So tax law is good. Those tax reforms and so on. And their tax administration is an area they should do. So in practicing it, I mean, there should be some overhaul. That's what I think President Tinubu is trying to do in trying to overhaul the tax administration system, which is very, very necessary, so that people pay tax and don't cheat. I think he's acting from experience. It's a good one, but they should make sure they should perfect it. So let it be practiced. In course of the practice, some of the flaws will be seen and it will be addressed. We can't get all that in one day, but as we practice, we begin to look at a lot of things. I know, but Nigeria again should be defined. Are we running a federal system, or is it a mix-up, or do we find a name we can give this our unitary and federal and call it? Maybe uni-federal system is what we want. Let's find something and call it.
But at what point now are you feeling that way? Because some cousins will always tell you there's always been federal system of government.
It's never been. We proclaim, of course, I don't even blame the constitution was first given to us by a military system. Who gave the say by the people? It was by the people. It was by a decree, by fiat of the presidency, I give to you, and it was given to us. So, but we must now that have come up, that's why it is suffering several alterations. We've had more than 6 alterations within less than 20 years or thereabout. Have alterations. I'm not saying we shouldn't have alteration. If you compare America, England, and so on, for the past 20, 30, 40 years, they've not had any alteration. But we have a set of alteration because it is fundamentally defective. But those are not our problem. Our problem is also the humans who are practicing it. So we pray that we'll keep going as we go. We'll keep amending. We'll do like MTN, pay as you go.
Okay. Now, I would have had a follow-up question with him, considering the fact that he was there for 4 different consecutive times, but we have a limited time. I needed you to respond to Vincent. At some point, he's feeling that the National Assembly, for him, they're not doing what they need to do. He appreciates how you made that absolute statement on radio to say they are there to make laws. For him, their oversight function is not what talking about. And why some civil servants are still suffering from some of these taxes and all of that. What would you say to him?
Oversight is very important, but the laws are key. Okay. Laws, you see, oversight is a transitional thing. You get to a place, you oversee what they are doing, you bring a resolution, or maybe out of. But you see, when you have a law, even if it has defects in implementation, the challenge will be the humans that are doing that. But the truth is that when somebody wakes up to the use of that law, then it becomes what it should be. So I'm as important as oversight is, I think we have to place a lot of primacy on quality sunshine laws.
All right.
Okay. The National Assembly has shied away from passing laws like the whistleblowers, whistleblowers bill that has been in that National Assembly for God knows when. That is a sunshine law that can help somebody in the Accountant General office to, whistleblow around some of the issues that probably have held down effectiveness in that place. But you see, that's not where we are going to go to. Tax is the one that will bring resources, that will put more resources in the hand of government. But as we tax these people, as we create environment to incentivize taxation, we must also talk about responsibility and duties. Okay. Because what people sometimes talk about is, okay, why am I paying tax? When I provide my own water, I'm my own doctor, I'm my own, my children are in private schools, because the public schools are not anything to. So we continue to bounce these blames and excuses. But government has to be responsible, first and foremost, create that ability, as government, first and foremost, to be respond to the welfare of the majority of the citizens that they govern, and then taxation becomes something that is much more easier. But whistleblowers bill is important. Such other sunshine laws. If you talk about issues of, for instance, the electoral offenses bill has been in National Assembly for 17 years, and that's one bill that has responsibility to, bring people who indeed diminish our elections the way they should, and bring them to what those are not the kind of places that we are seeing activity and action.
Very true.
You understand? So I just want to say that we can push in that direction and then help ourselves, because the laws that have been made, the oversight, the end point of it is to make life more livable for Nigerians, and we should be able to do that without necessary frustrations that we see currently.
Cousin, I love that you are part of what we're doing this morning. Countdown to the 10th National Assembly at 2. Progress, challenges, and prospects. The journey so far in the areas of education, economy, security, and agriculture. Have with us Honorable Uzoma Nkem-Abonta, member of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th National Assembly. Also with us, Ezenwa Nwangu, Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. Now, I should think that at this point, as we begin to wrap up broadcast, you might need to come through on 0707 242 6258. You've got some questions to ask or contributions to make. Reach us on 0707 242 6258. Now, let's talk to you, cousin. Good morning. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Bali. I'm calling from Lugo.
What's your name again, please?
My name is Bali. I'm calling from Lugo.
All right, let's go on. How is Lube?
Lube is come and see.
Let's have your 60 seconds.
I just want to contribute a moment.
Okay.
Yes. Next start with the minimum requirements for those for lawmakers. The minimum educational requirements for lawmakers. Honestly speaking, lawmaking is not an easy job. Lawmaking requires someone who is smart, who is well-grounded, who is well-educated, well-experienced. But the responsibility of that job has been given to everybody. In as the minimum education requirement is secondary school. We are not doing right to ourselves in the sense that lawmaking is something strategic. And for you to be at that strategic level, to some extent, policy makers are PhD holders.
All right. Thank you so much. I think you're 60 seconds done and you've made your point. I believe that's where we'll be wrapping up broadcast today. I appreciate that Honorable Abonta, who has been in the assembly, would want to react to that and having your final thoughts as well. While you talked, you had insisted on the perspective of this 10th National Assembly. Quite a number of people are new in the House. Now, he has a concern of how people get there. For him, secondary school shouldn't have been the basic. So what would you say?
Oh, well, that's what the constitution says. Not even secondary school is not the basic, it's secondary school attempted.
Okay.
So secondary school is not the basic, it's lower than that. The basic thing to qualify is that to show that you've done tailoring for 5 years, to show that you've done shoemaking. The Supreme Court defined school start attempted to mean you've been in a service for 5 years. So if you've been an apprentice of tailoring for 5 years, it could be deemed to be school start attempted and you're fit to be in National Assembly to make laws. All attempts during that period to change it to graduate or whatever failed.
What happened?
Because people don't want so. People wanted to be school start attempted. In fact, our Mr. President, then Shehu Shagari, had teachers grade 2. The matter went to Supreme Court, said, no, not school start. That school start should be school start attempted. So if you just go to any school, register, enter the class, make 999, if you attempted it, you are fit to be in National Assembly. Quite that definition.
And you have to make laws.
And you have to make laws. So you can't give, like I said, what you don't have. So what experience are you going? You're not even fit to be making bylaws in local government.
Look at what I'm thinking. 2027 is in view. Can you address the Nigerian mind on a very serious
And
note?
I want to tell Nigeria that 2027 may be worse.
I'm afraid. Why would you say that?
I'm saying that because now more people will compete. We don't even know the parties that will come. But people should realize that all parties are like vehicles. Look at the driver before you decide to enter. You don't see a madman behind the wheel, you jump inside the vehicle. You're not going to do that. So what I will tell the legislators is, like my colleague here behind the mic said, learn, move, begin to inquire, seek the knowledge. It's not a rocket science. Ask for it, learn. And NIRS are there, the Legislative Institute, to teach, to organize in-house program, teach them and begin to and learn, so that with the quality of what you turn out will determine what happens. The quality of government is done those who practice the governance. After elections is governance. So governance should be different from that. And again, you see, not ability to write English or speak English should not be used to, because there are people who are learned in Arabic or Igbo or whatever language, but they are still, since they are still matured enough, they have gathered the experience. And let me tell you, those traders at Alaba on the HallowMace, these are matter people. Are they Harvard graduates? No. But when they talk trade, when they talk practice, you will understand. And I believe that is what gives Supreme Court to say, if you practice the trade for 5 years, but they forgot that all practice are not. You can't say, if you go to Alaba market, you will see somebody who learned trade in there for 7 years. He will teach you what Harvard School never teach you. And they do well in business.
I appreciate
so
Honorable.
We can do that.
We have a limited time. I would just take your final thoughts now. You have heard the callers also to the...
Let me cut straight so that the thing is that we are practicing democracy. And democracy is about participation. It's about expanding the democratic space.
Okay.
You cannot constrict it, especially when it is electoral democracy. If an illiterate, if somebody who has the qualification that the Constitution allows, the basic minimum that the Constitution allows, presents him or herself to be elected. It is the right of the people to say you have not gone to school. Okay. Because of that, we will not vote you. Then that person can be pitched against a professor, and in many cases, the people will say, we don't want this professor. He has not been coming home. We don't know him. We want this one
that has been with us.
Yes.
He knows our
so
problem.
it is important to have the mindset to expand the democratic space rather than constrict it. That's number one. Number two, when you get to the National Assembly, you are allowed to employ professionals. You are allowed
that's
the people that they call legislative aides. But what do? We use that opportunity. We don't investigate who the legislative aides are. Majority of them are relations of the honorable's wife or the senator's wife who cannot contribute. In other places, it is not as if those senators or legislators or whatever in other places are, superlative. It is the quality of their staff that helps them to, and then there is specialization. Here, everybody is an expert in everything. There are people who go to this legislature to defend animal rights. There are people who go there to defend, school children, all those kind of things. But here, if you find a member or a senator and say, what do you truly represent? What do you stand for as a legislator? What is that thing that people can associate with you? So, first is, what is the quality of your staffing? Who are those who go, when they travel out, they go to if you go to the capital or you go to the British Parliament, go and see the people who are working in their offices. These guys are not, they are Harvards. Many of them are Ivy League trained, people helping them to churn out laws. But here we just, everything is about patronage and cronyism, and that affects the quality of, the output that we see. So for elective offices, it is the people. They present the people to them if they like that person. But when he gets there, he should now employ the people that can support him to deliver on the work that he has to do.
A good place to end this live broadcast of HallowMace today. I must appreciate Honorable Uzoma Nkem-Abonta, member 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th National Assembly. Thank you for coming, sir. I also appreciate Ezenwa, Executive Director, Pairing Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. Thank you for coming. So much information, education has come at you. You are meant to take your decisions correctly. What I've always said here on live radio is that it is not a do or die affair when we talk about our democracy. And you love politics. Looking at 2027 in view, be sure that you do the right things. Maybe the conversation will continue next week as we will still be on the countdown of the 10th Assembly. Bob Genesis, the Gospel Touch, your cousin on radio, remains my name. Until next time, I must appreciate my executive producer, of course, Prince Anderson. We are waiting, maybe, who knows, 2027. I didn't say that. Thank you so much for coming through with this live broadcast. We appreciate you. Good morning.
Just doing it. This is 107.7 FM on Versus Radio, right here in the heart of Abuja.
Those against the eyes have it.
Our journey has been steady from the advent. With crystal clear vision, we started off as a news online portal. We subsequently evolved into a magazine, and now on your radio. We do not only bear the name Media House. We practice with the best ethos of our professional calling, presenting facts with objectivity. We are committed and resolute. We are HallowMace. We are the standard bearers. It's HallowMace on radio, dedicated to promotion of legislature, democracy, and good governance. It's hot, interactive, educating, engaging, and entertaining. HallowMace on radio, Thursdays, 10 a.m. on Armed Forces Radio, 107.7 FM. HallowMace on radio. Parliament. Brought to the people.